There's a simple, easy form you can fill out on your phone or computer at CentralIllinoisOutdoors.com. Send us your story, send us your pick. CentralIllinoisOutdoors.com and the Catch of the Week, brought to you by Archer's Alley, North 22nd Street in Decatur.
News time is 8 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Wednesday. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded local newscast brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. For months now, the DeWitt County Animal Shelter has been under the microscope as staff turnover and understaffing have kept the facility from being fully operational. That is hopefully a thing of the past, says Administrator Tony Harris on the WHOW Morning Show Tuesday. Harris told Regional Radio it has been difficult to balance both his role as the 911 director and the animal shelter.
Well, you know, I've been doing the 911 side of the house for 22 years now, so I've got that down pat. But taking on this other, that's really a full-time job with no staff at the shelter, it has been a struggle trying to juggle both of those jobs. The biggest part was I inherited the animal shelter with no staff, so the biggest part was to just get staff hired, and I'm happy to announce that as of last week we finally have it fully staffed. So you know, it's been hard juggling both of them, and the like you asked the question, the heavier hat is definitely animal control right now, but I'm hoping once we get it now staffed and get it organized, which is going to probably take a little while to get everybody properly trained and just get it organized, that things are going to be easier. Spend a lot of my time at the office at the 911 center, but I'm trying to also spend some time with staff at the shelter now. So I go out first thing in the morning, check on the staff, and give assignments and training, things like that for them to do, and then go back to the 911 center. The goal is for me to provide guidance and oversight at the shelter, not really with hands-on, even though I'm training myself with duties to be a warden. The hope is that the full-time warden's going to stay around and she will do most of those duties, but I will be fielding all the animal control calls and decide the best approach and the best response on those. It could be the warden going out, it could be both of us, it could be myself, but I'm going to be cross-trained to do both of them.
According to Harris, they are fully staffed with a warden and 2 part-time staff, but he admits they are going to make sure they don't need more staff.
Right now, it's a full-time warden that typically works 8 a.m. until 4:30, and 2 part-time kennel assistants, a morning shift and an afternoon into the evening shift. The morning shift is 7 a.m. until noon, and the afternoon shift is 2 p.m. until 7 p.m. Is that going to be adequate? We don't really know at this point. Again, we just got it staffed last week, full staff. So, it's going to take a lot of work to figure out, is this adequate staffing or do we need additional? And I want to back up real quick, and I do have to give public safety credit for their leadership in getting it where it's at today with what we think is appropriate staffing. Megan Myers, her leadership, the chair of public safety, I think she's done a good job to, hasn't been there at the shelter every day, so she's done a lot of work getting it staffed how she thinks it should be staffed. But now with me being out there more day to day, we'll just have to keep an eye on things and see, is this appropriately staffed, or do we need additional? And I think it's gonna take a good year, I think, to just figure out where we're at once we get organized and see, do we need more, and what's the budget look like? I was given the budget that started on December 1st, and is this going to be an adequate budget? And that's we have line items like veterinary care. I don't know previously how did they deal with that. Just as an example, I had a sick kitten, and under my administration, we're going to deal with those type of things. It's going to require vet care. What they do, previously with those type of calls, I'm not sure, but is that line item for in the budget for veterinary care, is that going to be adequate? That's some things we're going to have to look at as we move forward throughout the year.
Harris notes the shelter's relationship with the group Second Chance for Pets, the pet adoption group in DeWitt County, is very strong, and he hopes to continue to maintain a good relationship with the group because they're instrumental in making sure the shelter does not get overcrowded with animals.
I may be off on my numbers because I get confused on the numbers of cats and dogs, but I think we had 10 cats out there last week and 5 dogs. Another thing I want to bring up, we have a partnership with Second Chance that we need to keep that partnership very, very strong because they are our rescue partner, and it's the only rescue partner that we currently use. So they are instrumental in the personal goal that I have, and I've made this very clear with Second Chance. Our goal is to safely bring those animals in, care for them, but very quickly get them out of the shelter as well, because I see firsthand it takes a toll on these animals. Dogs more than cats, but cats also. Dogs go downhill very quickly when they're shoved in a kennel at the shelter. So and they've been great. So as of now, I gave you some numbers we had last week. We have 1 dog right now in the shelter, and I think we're down to 3 cats now. So they've been instrumental in helping us either get the dogs either adopted or in foster homes.
Harris believes the shelter is on the right path, but it is going to take some time to get it all the way back. He has been appreciative of the support he's received so far in his time as the administrator. The Bi-Ennial Illinois Youth Survey is set to be administered in early 2024. Tony Kirkman at the Piatt County Mental Health Center indicates this is an every other year assessment of Illinois youth asking questions about things like substance abuse, mental health, and emotional health.
Yes, so every 2 years we partner with the schools within DeWitt and Piatt County to work with the University of Illinois. They put on a assessment for all 8th, 10th, and 12th graders and ask them to self-report on issues that are related to family functioning, mental health, and really focuses in on substance and alcohol use of these 8th, 10th, and 12th graders. And so 2024 is when we start again. And we will be working with all of the schools starting in January. And I believe our last school is middle of March that we'll start working with. But it's about a 35-minute process. There's several questions that the students are asked to participate.
According to Kirkman, once the students have taken the survey, the data is compiled into a school district-specific report, then a statewide report, and the trends are then broken down after that.
The state of Illinois compiles all of those results. They send the school-specific results normally to the administrators of those schools, and then we get countywide data that we can use to compare against years prior. And so we are very interested to continue to observe the emerging issues related to youth mental health, especially anxiety and depression, as well as to be tracking the vape usage, because it's interesting as I talk to school administrators across both counties that it seems like that continues to be a significant issue across the board is youth utilizing vaping devices. I mean, while our cigarette numbers are starting to plummet, which is great, these vape numbers continue to hold or to increase.
Kirkman points out he has not seen for Kirkman, the trend of teen mental health trends are concerning and to continue to show a growing sense of loneliness.
The most profound issue that I am finding is as it relates to teen mental health. When we look at the data, it's been pretty consistent over the last 6 years. It did spike during the heights of COVID, but it's slowly increasing. Is that our 10th and 12th graders, on average, not every school district, but on average, when we look at a county, the 10th and 12th graders, there is about a 24 to even 30% of these youth that are self-reporting that they have had a suicidal thought within the last year, which is just mind-blowing to me. Equally concerning is the growing number of self-reports of feeling alone and not having an advocate. And so I know that there is a lot of movement going towards the children's mental health collaboratives within the schools, and it's interesting that we're in a society where we're technologically more connected than we've ever been in our entire life, but we still have youth saying that they are feeling loneliness and a lack of connection at a level that we've never seen before.
Kirkman points out he has not seen a single positive influence that social media has had on the minds of our youth. He believes social media has made teens aware of things good and bad at an all-time high, something he says is not a good thing. It's 18 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Wednesday. We'll have plenty more coming back on the WHOW Morning Show.
At Baum Chevrolet Buick, above and beyond is standard practice. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. When you shop for a vehicle, there's nothing standard about it. You simply don't do it every day. That's why our sales staff will ask questions, listen, and help you find the transportation solution that checks all the right boxes. Come see our selection and start your search for a new Chevrolet or Buick today. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
News time is 19 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Wednesday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. The trucking industry continues to bring attention to parking issues. Don Schaefer is with the Springfield-based Midwest Truckers Association and says he'll be following the subject into 2024.
Senate 1034, which is the Truck Parking Improvement Act, that's what it's called, is going through the committee process. The bill has got bipartisan support, and it's moving, which is good because we have seen a concerted effort, not just by industry, but a lot of parties involved to say, hey, the feds are willing to pony up $750 million. To improve parking on our nation's highways, which they know is critical because of the fact we've had plenty of publicized accidents because of the fact that trucks are parked on ramps, they're squeezed into rest areas, they're parked on side streets, anywhere they can go, because of the fact that there is not enough parking. And the restrictions have gotten tighter. A lot of companies that used to allow people in stores to allow trucks to park on their lots doesn't happen anymore. So, this is a crucial issue. It's a safety issue, not just for truck drivers, but for automobile drivers, because of the fact that, they've got to be in that same situation. So we're happy to see this keep moving. And Congressman Mike Boss from Illinois is one of the leads, will continue to be a lead on it. And we're glad, here's a guy that's a congressman, his family's in the trucking industry, and they understand the issue.
The Midwest Truckers Association has membership across 15 states. The biggest story of 2023 for the State Ag Pest Survey Coordinator, Kelly Estes, was evidence of the spotted lanternfly in Illinois. But the biggest of the invasive species may not be as serious as originally thought.
That is what we really want people to know is, as an invasive comes to the U.S., we never really know what impacts it will have. We have great information on what it does in its country or location of origination. We know the plants it feeds on there, the damage it causes. And then, a new place, new location, new host plants, potentially trying to figure out what kind of impact it really will have. And I think because of its extended time that it's had out east has given us the opportunity to learn quite a bit of what it's doing in an area. So I don't think it's all gloom and doom like we originally thought. Is it still a threat? Yes, but I don't think we need to worry about it wiping out large stands of hardwood trees. I think what we're finding is that plants that are most susceptible are younger plants, saplings, smaller diameter of branches and tree trunks, if you will. Grapes are still on our list of things that we're really going to keep an eye on here in Illinois. But we also don't know how fast it could spread here and where else it might still be found that we've it's gone undetected.
Spotted lanternfly was confirmed in Cook County in September. Get more information on the invasive species by going to go.illinois.edu/spotted lanternfly. The Lieutenant Governor of Illinois is launching a new initiative to increase financial literacy for women. We Thrive is led by Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, who says women are already suffering because of the wage gap, and it all compounds in the lack of retirement savings and investment in women-owned businesses. Early on, the program will focus on making sure women are prepared to take care of financial decisions from a young age.
There are a lot of resources out there to help women advance economically. Women don't always know how to access that information, but what I think came up more than anything else is women often don't have the confidence. One of the things we heard this morning is that research shows that the confidence in girls really starts going down in 5th grade. So we need to start early of spreading the message and sharing the information. We heard a lot of women today, including myself, talk about how we didn't always get taught this information from our parents. We saw them balancing the checkbook, or we saw them paying the bills, or maybe they even invested for those who had that experience in their households. But we were not taught that information as women often.
The program will start with group listening sessions all over the state. Are the holidays stressing you out? One expert says some of that stress can be self-induced. Gary Crawford has this report.
Happy holidays.
Ah, yes, it's the holidays, a time of peace on earth. But for many people, it's more like stress time. So are you feeling a little bit stressed right now? Well, maybe that's not always bad.
Stress oftentimes can be healthy. It drives us to succeed. It drives us to do a lot of positive things.
Or can drive you crazy. Kansas State University Extension behavioral expert Brad Dirks says a stress here and a stress there might be okay, but he says stress is additive. So let's demonstrate that concept with some nice holiday-type music. But let's throw in another layer of holiday cheer. Feeling the stress a little bit? And of course, more. Starting to feel the stress a little bit? And of course, more. Now, Brad says you could handle one thing.
But if 2 things or 3 things are layered on top of each other, there's an additive experience of stress that makes it difficult to handle.
And he says at some point, sometimes,
the scale tips and the stressors become overwhelming to the point it impairs our ability to be successful in our lives.
Or to enjoy the good things of the holidays. And in many cases,
we get overwhelmed, we get tired, we get worn out, and we've done it for how many years? And now again, with everything else adding to that stress level,
it can be really rough because many of us are trying to come up with money for gifts, and there are special meals and gatherings to plan for, and relatives to visit, and gifts to wrap, and a million other things. What's driving all this? Brad Dirks says, for one thing,
we're driven by expectations, and there's external expectations of the family. We've always done this in the family, and therefore it's your job now to maintain this, and there's expectations we place on ourselves. Is this how I think it should be? I should be able to do this and accomplish this.
And so he says it might be good for us to take a look at all of the things around the holidays that we do almost without thinking and ask the question,
if I'm not enjoying this, or if I'm so tired at the end of the day that I don't enjoy the family when they get here, is this worth it?
And to be clear about this,
it's not that we're doing negative things. It's just that even if it's good, if it's overwhelming in its scope, we need to just look at this and go, how do we change this? And then be intentional about making some changes.
Doing so, though, in conversation with family and or friends, asking the questions.
Do we have to do what we've always done? Or how can we go about making this enjoyable for everyone and reduce our own stress?
Of course, having that conversation might stress me out, but it is a great idea. Next time, how stress messes with our bodies and minds, and Brad has a couple of techniques that can help with that. This is Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
More mild than normal temperatures are expected in most of the nation, which should benefit everything from finalizing field work to that outdoor holiday decorating and celebrating.
Tranquil, the word to describe weather conditions nationwide this week. not including a storm system traveling through the south and east. USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey.
That will include the west, the northern and central plains, much of the Midwest, and into the Northeast. Not only will it be dry, but temperatures will be at the very least normal to significantly above normal temperatures in some areas.
The benefits of this weather pattern?
It's really great for any final field work, including late season corn harvesting, for not just field work, but farm maintenance activities, preparing for the holidays, just wide open outside of the scope of the southern and eastern United States.
Rippey adds, other than near normal temperatures in the upper Midwest and New England, weather should remain mild from now to Christmas Day across most of the nation. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
News time is 28 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Wednesday. Again, coverage of news is brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. Brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Coming up on the morning show, we've got a look at the network news report. Following that, a look at local sports. Monticello boys basketball in action last night. Picked up a win over Arthur-Lovington-Atwood-Hammond. Also in sports this morning, the Bulls, the Blues, and the Blackhawks all in action in professional sports last night as well, and an outlook on the Packers' chances at the postseason yet here still for this year. That and much more comes your way next in sports. A look at that livestock report, the early markets, and that RFD Ag weather forecast, plus much more is all next.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason. A vote expected today in the House on formalizing the Biden impeachment inquiry. House Speaker Mike Johnson, who appears to have the votes he needs to advance the inquiry, says an uncooperative White House leaves the GOP with no other options. No Democrats are expected to vote yes on advancing the inquiry into the president and the numerous questions about his family's business dealings. The Federal Reserve today will be announcing its latest decision on interest rates. The Fed is expected to leave its key benchmark rate right where it is. The Fed's decision comes as the government reports that the rate of inflation ticked up slightly, up 0.1 of a point from October to November. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures have been modestly higher so far. Right now, the Dow futures are up 35 points. The Nasdaq futures ahead 30. S&P futures 4 points higher. More details at srnnews.com.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. In a game heard on WEZC and at DeWittDailyNews.com, the Monticello Sages beat Arthur-Lovington-Atwood-Hammond 42-10 in non-conference high school boys basketball action Tuesday night at the Seaver Center in Monticello. The Sages played Tuesday's game without leading scorer Trey Welter and playing against a winless 1A opponent. A Sages group that has struggled to find consistent offense had a chance to see new players step up, but nobody scored in double figures. Coach Kevin Roy did go deep to his bench early and often. Only junior Ike Young reached 20 minutes played for the Sages. He led all scorers with 9 points and grabbed 6 rebounds. Jack Widener, Ryan Wallen, and Colton Vance each had 6 points apiece. Maddox Quick had 5 points for Monticello on a night when the Knights were not playing particularly physical or stingy defense. The Sages still turned the basketball over 19 times. For Monticello, the Knights' 6% shooting kept those turnovers from hurting. Monticello did dominate the glass, out-rebounding Alla 44-19. The Sages shot 41.5% from the floor and scored 20 points in the paint. Alla drops to 0-8 overall. Monticello goes to 3-4. They will travel to the Comet Sports Boosters Shootout Saturday at 5:30 p.m. to take on Greenville. Hear the action on WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com. Even after perhaps their most disappointing loss of the season, the Green Bay Packers still have an opportunity to make the playoffs. but their margin for error is much narrower. The 6-7 Packers ended a 3-game winning streak in desultory fashion Monday night, falling 24-22 to the New York Giants. Green Bay still would have the NFC's third and final wild card playoff berth if the season ended today, thanks to various tiebreakers. Atlanta, New Orleans, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and the LA Rams are also 6-7. The Buccaneers visit Lambeau Field on Sunday. There were plenty of issues in every phase that hindered the Packers on Monday. On defense, they allowed the Giants to run wild and failed to get a sack against a team that has allowed a league high 69 of them. On offense, the Packers turned the ball over on back-to-back possessions and struggled in the red zone. On special teams, the Packers fumbled a punt and missed a 45-yard field goal. But Green Bay still found itself in position to win after Jordan Love's 6-yard touchdown pass to Malik Heath. But the Packers went ahead putting the Packers ahead 22-21 with 1:33 to play. But Tommy DeVito drove the Giants into position for Randy Bullock's 37-yard field goal as time expired. DeVito picked Green Bay's defense apart on that final drive, throwing 4 straight completions, totaling 55 yards. As poorly as the offense played for most of the game, the Packers still managed to score on their final 2 possessions to pull ahead after trailing 21-13 with under 6 minutes left. The Packers allowed 209 yards rushing, the 4th time this season an opponent has run for at least 200 yards. The Packers have given up at least 140 yards rushing in 5 straight games. After not committing a single turnover during a 3-game winning streak, the Packers lost 2 fumbles and threw an interception on Monday. Wide receiver Dontavian Wicks hurt his ankle. Wide receiver Jaden Reed was evaluated for a concussion after the game. Coach Matt LaFleur did not have updates regarding either player Tuesday. Cornerback Jerry Alexander missed a 5th straight game. Running back Aaron Jones sat out a 3rd straight game. And linebacker Quay Walker also did not play. The Packers will seek to strengthen their playoff position and damage a rival when they host the Bucs on Sunday. Nikola Jokic was ejected in the second quarter. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was held out in the second half after a collision with Nikola Vucevic, and Jamal Murray did not play at all. However, the rest of the Denver Nuggets picked up the slack. Reggie Jackson scored 25 points, and the shorthanded defending champs held off the Bulls for a 114-106 victory Tuesday night. Michael Porter Jr. had 17 points. Aaron Gordon scored 14 with 7 boards and 6 assists, helping Denver to a gritty second straight win after a 129-122 victory at Atlanta on Monday night. Julian Strother added 16. Jackson made 5 3-pointers as the Nuggets went 14 for 30 from behind the arc. The Nuggets also beat the Bulls 123-101 on November the 4th. Jokic was thrown out for the language he directed toward an official after he felt he was fouled when he missed a reverse layup with 1:12 to play in the first half. The 2-time NBA MVP said something in the direction of a referee as he made his way down the court. Jokic was promptly whistled for a technical foul and thrown out by official Musa Dager. Jokic declined to get into further details because he wanted to avoid a fine by the NBA. Mark Lindsay, the crew chief for the referee crew, was also vague when asked about the exchange. Kobe White led Chicago with 27 points, continuing his hot streak. Vucevic finished with 26 and 16 rebounds. The Bulls were coming off a 133-129 overtime loss at Milwaukee Monday night that had stopped a 4-game winning streak. White went 8 of 15 from the floor, including a 5 for 10 performance from 3. He is averaging 26.8 points in his last 5 games. Chicago pulled within 5 on Ayo Dosunmu's jumper with 1:47 left in the third quarter, but Strother made a 3-pointer and 2 foul shots to help Denver carry a 92-80 lead into the final period. The Nuggets stayed in control throughout the fourth quarter. Gordon's 3 made it 109-96 with 3:20 left. Already playing without Zach LaVine due to right foot inflammation, the Bulls rested Alex Caruso for a second straight game because of a sprained left ankle. Coach Billy Donovan made it sound as if Caruso could return soon. The Nuggets played without Murray, who had 29 points and 9 rebounds in Monday night's win. Murray has been dealing with a sore right ankle, and he rolled his left ankle in the first quarter against the Hawks. The Bulls are at Miami Thursday night and again Saturday night. Connor McDavid had 2 assists, and the streaky Edmonton Oilers overcame an early goal by rookie Connor Bedard to beat the Chicago Blackhawks 4-1 Tuesday night in the first NHL matchup between the young stars. McDavid, a 3-time MVP, was the top overall pick in 2015. Bedard was the first pick this past summer. Sam Gagner had a goal and an assist in a highly anticipated clash of the Connors, helping the Oilers win their 8th in a row. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Leon Draisaitl, and Zach Hyman scored for Edmonton, and defenseman Evan Bouchard had a pair of assists. Stuart Skinnard made 22 saves for his 7th consecutive victory in net. Bedard gave the banged-up Blackhawks a 1-0 lead with his 12th goal, 3:21 into the first, but Chicago lost its 7th consecutive road game. The 18-year-old center scored on the second shot of the night. He took a long pass from Alex Vlasic for a partial breakaway and unleashed a deceptive shot that beat Skinner glove side to the top corner. The Blackhawks are at Seattle on Thursday. Lucas Raymond and Robbie Fabry scored in the third period to lift the Detroit Red Wings over the scuffling St. Louis Blues 6-4 Tuesday night. Soon after their season-worth 4th straight loss, the Blues fired coach Craig Berube, who guided them to their only Stanley Cup championship in 2019. The 57-year-old in his 6th season with St. Louis had a record of .206, 131, and 44. Drew Bannister, coach of the Springfield Thunderbirds of the American Hockey League, has taken over as interim coach. Moritz Seider, Jake Wallman, Jonathan Bergeron, and Michael Rasmussen had goals for the Red Wings, who were 0-2-1 in their last 3. Kevin Hayes scored twice for the Blues, who also got goals from Marco Scandella and Brandon Saad. St. Louis has lost 5 of 6 overall. Raymond tied it at 2 with a power play goal 48 seconds into the third. Fabry put the Red Wings up 5-4 at 6:38 when he scored against his former team, and Rasmussen added an empty netter at 18:21. Villahuso stopped 33 shots in his first game against the Blues since they traded him to Detroit for a third-round pick in July 2022. Jordan Binnington made 26 saves and fell to 8-9-1. St. Louis used 3 second-period goals to go ahead 4-3. Hayes scored twice, 31 seconds apart, giving the Blues a 3-2 lead. He scored at a minute 40 when he was in front and deflected in a shot by Nick Leddy. Seider then turned the puck over as Hayes intercepted his pass and scored an unassisted goal at 2:11. Seider made it up for the mistake when he scored at 9:47 to tie the game at 3. Scandella, as stay-home defenseman, scored an unassisted shorthanded goal on a backhander at 16:53. Shane Gostebeer snapped his stick on a one-timer, and Scandella snatched the puck loose, skated in on a breakaway, and scored his first goal of the season. That gave St. Louis an NHL-leading 8 shorthanded goals, one more than the team has on the power play. The Blues went 0-2 with the man advantage, dropping to 7 for 83 this season. The only club worse is Washington. It was Scandella's first goal in 32 games. His last one came March 21st at home against Detroit. The Blues host Ottawa on Thursday. Get sports anytime from your computer or mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.